Hello and welcome to NEWSWEEK South Asia, your one-stop destination for in-depth analysis of security challenges, regional conflicts and the evolving threat of terrorism. Let's take a look at the headlines first. India and Israel pledge deeper cooperation to combat radical terror. India shreds Pakistan's propaganda at UN, exposes decades of deceit and terror. An humanitarian crisis deepens after deadly quakes in northern Afghanistan. India and Israel, two democracies at the front line of the global war on terror, have reaffirmed their shared commitment to a zero-tolerance approach towards terrorism. During Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar's visit to New Delhi, both countries pledged to deepen their strategic partnership, enhance intelligence sharing, and strengthen joint efforts against radical terror groups that threaten regional stability from South Asia to the Middle East. We have a report. Reaffirming the shared fight against terrorism, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar met his Indian counterpart Dr. S. Jaishankar in New Delhi. The two sides held extensive talks on security cooperation, counter-terror strategies and regional developments, emphasizing that radical extremism remains a mutual threat to both nations. The meeting comes days after the horrific terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, an incident Saar strongly condemned, underlining Israel's solidarity with India in its battle against cross-border terrorism. Both leaders also exchanged views on the Gaza peace plan and the need for durable stability in the Middle East.
Radical terror is a mutual threat to Israel and India. We strongly condemn the horrific terror attack in Pahalgam. In the Middle East, Israel faces a unique phenomenon which I call terror states. The radical terror states of Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Houthis in Yemen have established themselves over the past decades. Uprooting them is necessary for the security and stability of our region. Radical terror is a mutual threat.
Saar's remarks resonated strongly in New Delhi, where the Indian government has consistently maintained that terrorism, regardless of geography or justification, poses one of the gravest challenges to global peace. Over the years, both India and Israel have built a strong partnership rooted in security, intelligence cooperation, and defense technology. Israel has been one of India's most trusted defense suppliers, providing cutting-edge surveillance systems, missile technology, and cybersecurity expertise, critical in countering Pakistan-backed terror networks and maintaining operational preparedness along India's borders.
We have naturally been following developments in your region with very close attention. We welcome the return of the hostages and the remains of those who unfortunately lost their lives. India supports the Gaza peace plan and hopes that it paves the way for a durable and lasting solution.
Dr. S. Jaishankar reiterated India's zero-tolerance approach to terrorism in all its forms, adding that global powers must act collectively to dismantle extremist ecosystems that destabilize nations. He noted that both countries have stood together in testing times, reflecting the deep trust and reliability that define the India-Israel bond. A joint statement from the Indian Foreign Ministry said both leaders reaffirmed their commitment to building a global consensus against terrorism, while also witnessing the signing of an MOU on diplomatic training between the Sushma Swaraj Institute of Foreign Service and Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, a move that will strengthen institutional collaboration.
We have created a relationship with a very high degree of trust and of reliability. Our two nations face a particular challenge from terrorism. It is essential that we work towards ensuring a global approach of zero tolerance towards terrorism in all its forms and manifestations.
The visit also touched on strategic connectivity projects, such as the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, which seeks to create an alternative trade and energy route linking Asia with Europe, a vision both India and Israel view as vital for regional stability and economic resilience. SAR also recalled Prime Minister Narendra Modi's immediate expression of solidarity after the Hamas attacks last year, saying, "We remember that Modi was the first world leader to call Prime Minister Netanyahu after Hamas October 7 massacre, and we won't forget it." With rising terror threats across Asia and the Middle East, from Hamas and Hezbollah to Pakistan-backed proxies in Kashmir, the India-Israel partnership has evolved into a robust security alliance. Both nations share intelligence, coordinate on counter-terror training, and collaborate in defense innovation, making their relationship one of the most resilient in the global fight against terrorism. For both New Delhi and Tel Aviv, the message is clear: peace cannot coexist with terror. At the United Nations, India has delivered yet another firm message to Pakistan. Truth cannot be buried under propaganda. Responding to Islamabad's habitual rhetoric on Jammu and Kashmir, New Delhi's representative exposed Pakistan's duplicity before the global community, calling out its continued misuse of UN platforms to spread misinformation. India reminded the Assembly that Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh are integral parts of India, while Pakistan, in contrast, stands guilty of grave human rights abuses in the territories it occupies. From Gilgit-Baltistan to Balochistan, voices of resistance are rising against decades of repression under a military regime that thrives on exporting terror abroad and silencing dissent at home.
At the UN General Assembly, First Secretary Bhavika Manglanandan from India's permanent mission minced no words in exposing Islamabad's double standards.
India has always looked at human rights as something that is indivisible and fundamental.
She underscored that while Pakistan continues to misuse global platforms to spew falsehoods, it remains directly responsible for systematic human rights abuses, extrajudicial killings, and resource exploitation in the parts of Jammu and Kashmir under its illegal control.
Repetitive allegations and lies change neither reality nor the truth. It is unfortunate that Pakistan has resorted to subversion of the principle of self-determination by resorting to false equivalences. Let me reiterate, the Union territories of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh are an integral and inalienable part of India.
For decades, Pakistan has weaponized international platforms to deflect global scrutiny over its own record of terror sponsorship, political repression, and domestic failures. It continues to harbor extremist networks, export terror across its borders, and silence ethnic minorities who demand freedom and dignity. From Balochistan to Gilgit-Baltistan, Islamabad's heavy-handed tactics have crushed dissent, while its leaders conveniently use the UN stage to divert attention from their own failing state and collapsing economy. Pakistan's pattern is clear: shift blame abroad, suppress dissent at home, and sustain instability in the region. India has long maintained that Pakistan's occupation of parts of Jammu and Kashmir violates UN Security Council Resolution 47 of 1948, which clearly mandated Islamabad to withdraw its troops and citizens from the region before any further steps could be considered. More than 7 decades later, Pakistan continues to flout that very resolution while ironically invoking it in international forums.
We reject attempts by Pakistan to denigrate the people of India and the democratic choices regularly exercised, including by the people of Jammu and Kashmir. The social and economic progress experienced by them is evident for all to see.
New Delhi's response also highlighted the deepening public anger and open revolt against Pakistan's military oppression in Gilgit-Baltistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Reports of disappearances, custodial killings, and suppression of peaceful protests have become routine, exposing the harsh reality behind Pakistan's so-called concern for Kashmiri rights.
We call upon Pakistan to stop the grave and ongoing human rights violations in the areas illegally occupied by it, where the population is in open revolt against Pakistan's military occupation, repression, brutality, and illegal exploitation of resources. In the last few weeks alone, the occupying Pakistani forces and their proxies have killed many innocent civilians who were agitating for their basic rights and freedoms. Pakistan's doublespeak and hypocrisy does not deserve the time and attention of this August forum.
India's statement also reaffirmed its long-standing commitment to human rights, democracy, and equality, rooted in the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi and enshrined in the Indian Constitution. From independent human rights commissions to a free judiciary, India continues to strengthen its domestic framework to ensure dignity and justice for all its citizens.
India's journey in protecting and promoting human rights reflects its commitment to creating a just and equitable society. My nation remains dedicated to further strengthening our human rights framework and ensuring the dignity and rights of all our citizens.
Once again, Pakistan's futile attempt to internationalize the Kashmir issue has been met with facts, not fiction. As India continues its march towards inclusive growth and democratic governance in Jammu and Kashmir, Islamabad stands increasingly isolated, exposed for its lies, brutality, and moral bankruptcy before the global community.
In northern Afghanistan, another humanitarian tragedy is unfolding. A powerful 6.3 magnitude earthquake has struck the region, killing at least 20 people and injuring hundreds. Entire villages have been flattened, and even the centuries-old Blue Mosque in Mazar-e-Sharif has suffered severe damage. The disaster comes as the Taliban administration grapples with mounting crisis, economic collapse, international isolation, and a growing exodus of refugees. Our report.
The tremor struck early, November 3rd morning, near the northern city of Mazar-e-Sharif, shaking Afghanistan's fragile landscape and leaving widespread destruction across Samangan and Balkh provinces. Entire families have been buried beneath collapsed homes. Local residents, armed with little more than shovels and bare hands, have been working tirelessly to find survivors.
پنج کم یکی شب بود که هم یک تکان دادم زمین و زمان تیپ تاریک شد همین برقا که میشه تیپ تاریک شد یکمال همین با مدت یک ساعت همین خاک رو بود وقتی خاک رو شد دیدیم که یک دو تا جنازه بین غلطه یک تا سیاست و زیر غلطه یک دو تا زخمی پیش دکانی ماست دیگه یک موتر بریبار یک 32 نفر بود اما دو دانه زنده مانده اما 30 دانه 4 تا شهید شدیم کلی زخمی 4 دانه مرد کلی زخمی بود.
The quake's impact extended beyond casualties. Parts of the historic Ravza-e-Sharif, the iconic Blue Mosque, a symbol of Afghan heritage, were damaged. The destruction has added cultural loss to an already devastating tragedy.
شب رخ داد با واقعا یک زلزله بسیار شدید بود در طول 50 سال عمر خود ما رقم زلزله ندیده بودم و بسیار خسارات به مردم مسکین بیچاره اهالی بلخ سمنگان و خلم به بار آورده و همچنان روضه شریف که شما میبینید نمادی از شهر مزار شریف است که بسیار آسیب جدی در هر قسمت از مناره‌اش و گنبدهای روضه شریف رسانیده شده توسط زلزله.
For the survivors, life is now a desperate struggle. With winter setting in, temperatures are plunging and many families remain without food, shelter or medical care. The Taliban's response has been limited, with little access to international relief amid sanctions and dwindling foreign aid.
تقریبا 2 شب پیش یا 3 شب پیش بود نیمه شبای شب زلزله بسیار شدید به وقوع پیوست که در جریان زلزله یعنی قسمی که شما مشاهده میکنین امی اولیای ما مکمل اتاقای ما زیر آوار رفت و هیچ چیز هم تا هنوز نتونستیم از زیر آوار بیرون بکنیم. خطری نیز وجود داره که زمستان است، بسیار هوا سرد است، طفلای ما یک تعدادش میال از طرف شب بسیار تب شدید داره به خاطر همین 2-3 شب میشه بسیار سردی است، طفلا سرد شده دیگه جایی بر رفتن نداریم، تمام حولی از بین رفت، حتی زمین ازی هم دیگه قابل استفاده نیست، این زمینی که چون شما میبینین مکمل ترکیده و رفته.
The disaster is the latest challenge for war-torn Afghanistan's Taliban administration, already grappling with crisis, including an August quake that killed thousands, a sharp drop in foreign aid, and mass deportations of Afghan refugees by neighboring countries. More than 2,200 people were killed and thousands more injured after a quake and strong aftershocks in the southeast of the war-shattered Islamic country at the end of August. The World Health Organization has appealed for $4 million in emergency aid to provide shelter, medicine, and food, but humanitarian agencies say help is slow to arrive. For many Afghans, this tragedy comes on top of an unending series of crises: poverty, drought, floods, and mass deportations of refugees from neighboring countries.
دیگه جایی نداریم، مکتبا پر داریم، اینجا مشکلات داریم، زندگی در خانه شکست کردیم، تلفکار نگاه کردیم، اینجا شدیم، یعنی چاپه شدن معلوم نیست که روز بارش شد پکر صبح میشه نه دیگه، کفو کو برافون خانه که فرو میره، همه شکست کرده.
Afghanistan's geography makes it one of the world's most quake-prone regions. Sitting at the junction of the Eurasian and Indian tectonic plates, the country frequently experiences tremors that cause devastating landslides and structural collapse. Studies show Afghanistan has witnessed at least 355 earthquakes above magnitude 5 since 1990, with an average annual death toll of over 560 people. This latest disaster underscores a grim reality. Afghanistan is a nation trapped in recurring tragedy. Natural disasters continue to expose the fragility of the governance and the absence of international support. For millions of Afghans, survival now depends on whether the world still remembers them amid shifting global crises.
Pakistan's latest warning of war against the Taliban has once again pushed the region to the edge. As Islamabad and Kabul prepare for another round of peace talks in Turkey, hopes for stability hang by a thread. From proxy ties to open hostility, this is a relationship unraveling fast. Joining me now to decode the crisis and its wider impact on regional security is Rabinder Sachdeva, Foreign Affairs expert. Hello sir, welcome to the show. So my first question is, Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif has openly warned of war if the talks collapse. What does this reveal about Islamabad's frustration or perhaps its failure in managing its relationship with the Taliban?
I think it conveys on two tracks. One, yes, it is Pakistan's frustration. It's an acknowledgement of failure that they are not able to achieve what they want without pursuing the course of a conflict. But the bigger game which I see is that Pakistan is escalating the rhetoric and to some extent the conflict in order to bring it to a certain point where, if needed, Donald Trump could intervene and help broker a ceasefire or a peace accord. Pakistan is preparing the grounds for the 10th or 11th peace accord that Trump could enable between Pakistan and Afghanistan. I see that as a bigger game in parallel.
So do you see Asif's war talk as genuine intent or political posturing meant to pressure Kabul before the negotiations?
See, Pakistan cannot afford to go to a war, quote unquote war. What do they mean by a war? Do they mean they'll send thousands of Pakistan army into Afghanistan? So I don't see chances of war. But yes, it could be conflict escalation, more airstrikes, border conflicts, etc. As I mentioned earlier, Pakistan is going to push the envelope on rhetoric and also perhaps on the ground, because Pakistan sees this as an opportunity, in fact a golden opportunity, given the geopolitical context in which it is today, wherein it has, carved away inside the US administration and in its good books. It's offering value in terms of critical minerals to the US. It's offering value in terms of access into Iran in case the US or Israel want to send some money and agents into Iran for a regime change. It has found a way inside to be a part of the Gaza solution, wherein it is reported, and there are chances, logical, that Pakistani army soldiers could be deployed in Gaza as part of some stabilization or security forces. So given the context of all of these things together, Pakistan is feeling emboldened to push its agenda with Afghanistan.
The recent border clashes between Pakistan and Afghanistan have been among the deadliest since the Taliban's return to power. In your view, what set off this sudden and violent escalation along the Durand line?
I think the sudden escalation, to my mind, is partially or to a good extent driven by the fact that Pakistan is feeling emboldened in its relationships with the United States. In terms of the geopolitical pieces, as we just discussed, critical minerals, and be it the Iran border, be it the cryptocurrency deal with Trump's family, the Gaza conflict being part of a solution there. In the background of all these developments, I think Pakistan feels emboldened. So the sudden escalation is, I think, a result of these other factors due to which Pakistan thinks that, okay, this in any case is a conflict or a dispute which has been ongoing since ages between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And also one more, yes, the fencing of the border. Pakistan started the fencing of the border, so that has also, led to an escalation in the hard positions of both sides. But the bigger reason I see Pakistan escalated now is because of these other geopolitical factors with regards to the United States, due to which Pakistan feels it's the right time to take advantage of the advantageous position in which it sees itself with respect to the United States.
Islamabad insists its operations target TTP sanctuaries inside Afghanistan, while Kabul accuses Pakistan of violating its sovereignty through unprovoked strikes. From your perspective, where does the truth lie between these competing claims?
The TTP has bases in Afghanistan. Yes, and TTP is attacking Pakistan, of that there's no doubt, is calling for separatism or even a radical, more Sharia Islam in the country, right? So Pakistan is definitely, looking at those. But on the other hand, the Taliban is in a certain situation, because for Taliban, the TTP, they are ideological siblings. They fought together, right, against the Americans. And also across the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan, the TTP people and the Taliban, they have families, they have relationships, they're married into each other, clans and all. So it's a very deeply intertwined relationship between Taliban and the TTP. So Taliban would not be in a position, would not want to take action against the TTP due to a multitude of reasons. And herein Pakistan feels and says that, and yes, there is a fact to it that TTP is causing damage and causing violence inside Pakistan. So the truth lies in between the two, I would say.
Pakistan's once celebrated the Taliban's return to power. How did that strategic victory turn into a diplomatic disaster within just 3 years?
I think Pakistan celebrated Taliban's victory assuming and presuming that Taliban would be a pawn in terms of what Pakistan would want or would desire Afghanistan to behave as, or the Taliban. The Taliban has proven to be much more independent streak. The Taliban it's a nationalism which Taliban is working on, right? And of course, the boundary dispute which has been ongoing, and it's not only because of Taliban, this boundary dispute, the Durand line between Pakistan and Afghanistan, has been ever since the founding of Pakistan itself, in a way you could say, right? So be it whichever regimes in Afghanistan, they have not accepted the Durand line. So that has been a factor all along.
If these peace talks fail, what kind of escalation should the region brace for? A limited border war or a prolonged insurgency across both sides?
Yeah, if these peace talks fail, then of course the region would see perhaps more border conflicts, maybe more hot chases by Pakistan across the border, which the Taliban would, of course, defend themselves and not allow a foreign nation's army to be, or, agents to be entering into their territory. So border escalations, yes. Airstrikes, yes. Not a war, but we do see some of this, and also we could see some kind of surgical strikes, quote unquote, right? That Pakistan may say, okay, these are the identified bases of the TTP, we are out to destroy them. So we could see, if these peace talks fail, we could see a bunch of these kind of things happening.
Thank you so much for giving us your time, sir. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We'll be back next week with more news, views and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on behalf of the entire team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.